In this video, we're going to look at how to qualify for the 3508 SBA form at 3508 EZ. There's 3 ways to do it, and we're going to cover those 3 ways. But in going through it in our real world, because we're a CPA firm and we've got, I don't know, 40 or 50 of these loans that we're helping assist to complete. You know, we helped on the debt or to borrow the money. Now we're helping on getting the debt forgiven. We've actually did another video. You can see it at the bottom of the page where we actually did a live SBA 3508 EZ. But after we did that and we started actually getting requests from banks back and forth, Debbie, what we found out was that no 2 answers from 2 different banks were the same. So I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's go through the 3 ways. We'll walk through it, give you some insight, and at the end we'll kind of recap it. So Debbie, you want to, or I can take the first one?
So the first one, number 1, is if you have no employees, meaning you're just self-employed, you're a contractor, whatever it may be, you don't have any employees, you qualify for the 3508 EZ. So that's your first option. Number 2 is 2 parts. There's 2 parts to number 2. To read what this says and then explain it is you did not reduce your annual salary or hourly wages of any employee by more than 25% during the covered period. So you did not change their hourly rate by 25% or you didn't change their salary by 25%. So that's the first part. Part 2 of number 2 is you did not lower your FTEs from your initial period. So from January 1st to February 29th, whatever your FTEs were during that period, you kept them throughout or you rehired them by the end of your either 8-week period or 24-week period. Number 3 is you have the same qualification of you didn't decrease your employees' hourly or salary by more than 25%. And you also have, I'm going to read this parts of this one.
Yeah, and don't get too fast on this because this is the one that kind of is a catch-all. It could be very good news, and in talking to our bankers, this is where kind of the confusion is at. So this video, the first 2 options are very well covered, but this one here is kind of, I don't want to call it a free pass, but boy, it's big.
There's some bankers that are calling it pretty close to that.
Okay.
So the borrower was unable to operate during the covered period at the same level of business as before February 15th, 2020, due to the compliance with requirements that came out between March 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2020 by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Director of the CDC, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration related to the maintenance of standards of sanitation, social distancing, or any other work or customer safety requirement related to COVID-19.
Okay, so let's stop there. We said this is real world. Would you just reread that last, get beyond the federal government, let's Health and Human Services, read that last portion of that sentence, please.
Anything that basically kept you
and read it so we're not misquoted.
Related to the maintenance of standards of sanitation, social distancing, or any other work or customer safety requirement related to COVID-19.
So let's go to the real world. Let's go to our office. We were in the first group, so we were before June 5th. So we could go and take the option of the 8-week, and let's say, you know, in our case, we started with the same number, ended with the same number. We spent our money, so we could qualify under that one, okay? But in that one, maybe they question our expenses or they question our FTEs.
Right.
So that one, I'm trying to figure out what I'm secure with checking the box to my bank. That's where I'm at. It's called, I want to make sure it's forgiven. So that's one. Second one, it's the problem with that, or like, well, the first one's self-employed, but then this one here, what I like about it is the fact for any reason, for example, when this first started, we actually sheltered down this early in the 2nd week of March. So because I'm high risk, because I'm over 21, I mean, well, whatever that age is, then I sheltered down at home and worked from home. But staff-wise, to make sure we had the right space and social distancing, we had half the staff working certain days of the week here, and the other half of the staff work in different days, so we had a social distancing. We also moved our office from the front office to where we had a common area and a desk out there. So the point of it was we were going through these extra steps.
So in that, if that point in time, we would have decreased our full-time equivalents through that because we weren't completely open, then the way this makes us sound is we would qualify
Under the third
option.
Yes, and I think that's very important because that takes the FTE question out.
Yes.
So whether you're doing this on your own as a small business, whether you're an accountant or payroll company and you're trying to assist in doing this, I think the big takeaway, just don't read it and say this sounds reasonable or yes. But again, for these three different options, one, I'm self-employed, I paid myself, it's based on a prior period, I can qualify that one. The second one is the one that everybody thought we were going to have to qualify under, and that is to not reduce wages or salaries by more than 25% and keep the same FTEs, which ended up being very difficult. Now I could qualify that though again under the 8-week or the 24-week.
Yes.
So we didn't
Whichever
change
one
that.
you want to choose.
So for us, actually we're guilty. We just filed ours, and we're filing it for other companies. But what happens is we feel we qualify. In our case, we qualified under the 8-week, the payroll, the percentages, the FTEs. We feel we also qualified under the 24 weeks. But guess what? We checked the third option. And the reason why is because it did impact our business. We had to buy additional equipment, modems from home, tablets to take home. So we incurred additional expenses. Our hours were cut back. Our office was open was cut back. So those were all impacts. So again, this real world of what happened to me and what is happening to you. What do you think, Debbie? Any other kind of summary stuff you'd like to hit?
I just think that everyone should really take a look at the 3508EZ.
Yeah, and
because there's a likely chance a lot of people will qualify under this form.
And I want to follow up on that because I think that is the big point. First, work with your bank. No two banks are alike. Documentation, they're requesting it differently. And when you go fill out this form, some banks you go online, you put in the numbers, and you send through a lockbox or something the additional documentation, which is payroll reports for the period covered.
Yes.
And then if an expense you use, you're going to have that documentation. But other banks are saying fill it out paper-wise and give it to us with the document. So still the same end game is how I check this question. And I think the other thing, again, it's nothing like doing it yourself. So when we really started to do these applications for debt forgiveness, most of the banks were holding off. Well, we said this week is our 24th week. We're ready to do it, but working with the banks is so critical. In doing that, working with the banks, when I looked at this, and you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I just said, we got clients that wouldn't qualify because of the reduction in the FTEs because of COVID shutdown. But when you read this, and I'm gonna go here, and Debbie, you know I was gonna ask you this, but do we not have a lot of clients before we really dissect this and talk to more than one bank so we didn't just say it's our opinion, we talked to various banks. But some people, when they read the FTE and it wasn't the same, they're like, I've got to go to the long form. What this does, there'll be a whole lot of people that would think they go to the long form. Instead, they can go to this question and avoid the long form. So because of this, we have several clients that's going to use this option 3, because if they don't and they use option 2, which is dealing with the FTEs,
they wouldn't qualify.
They wouldn't qualify and then have to go to the long form. So that's it. Work your bank, but really take some time to look at this, because there's a lot of people, if you don't look at the and in this third option, you'll end up on the long form, and it's a lot easier to do. That's why they named it the EZ. Hope this helps. Stay tuned. There's a little bell that you can click on or subscribe for follow-up information. Because remember, Congress is still in session. They're talking about another stimulus package. Actually, both sides have some stimulus in it. So we may be back doing that. So hope this helps, and see you soon.